JCT for Education.
Good evening, this is Juan Catamayo, JCT for Education for you. Today we have an incredible guest from Boston, Massachusetts, right from Boston. But I will tell you, we tried 3 times to go on this live. Technology sometimes can be a pain in the neck. Remember, if you're doing lives on Instagram, remember to update your software. That's something that I'm learning as well. So tricks that happen. But let me invite our guest for the evening. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Lana Metropolis from Bobson College. How are you, Lana?
I'm good. Can you see me yet?
Yes,
All
I
right,
see you.
there I
am. I'm so
We're
excited.
on.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Of course, happy to be here.
Okay, Lana, so we're both in Florida and we're both in
Yes,
Boca Raton. So
that's correct.
I'm really excited. This pandemic has changed our lives, and I've been working from home for the last year and so. I saw a couple of my colleagues from my office today, just 2. They came, they only been here a couple, maybe 6 times. How are you? How do you commute at all to Boston?
So I recently left Massachusetts last summer from the
Okay,
Graduate Office of Experiential Learning to now in graduate admissions.
okay.
So currently no, but that's mainly due to the pandemic. Majority of my team is on the Wellesley campus, so I'm sure once things get better, I'll be back up there as well.
Okay, well, thank you. But Lana, before we jump into graduate
Mhm.
admissions, we're thrilled. I want to send a quick message to Corny Minding, to Colleen, to all our friends, Babson, both undergraduate and graduate students. Hola, hello to everyone. I was trying to look for one of your t-shirts. I found this one. Absolutely love it. I wanted to wear the green, so I do apologize to you guys. I don't have the green one yet.
Right.
But Lana is actually went to school here in Boca Raton, St. Andrews, to our friend Bob Bureza, high school counselor. Hello, Bob. Maybe one of your students is here. And then you went for your BA to Wake Forest University, where you have your undergraduate in communications and Spanish. Am I correct?
That's correct.
And then you actually did your study abroad at Universidad Pontificia
Yep.
Salamanca, and you got your certificate at Boston. Actually, you went to Babson as well. And here you are.
Mhm.
How long have you been at Babson right now?
So this summer will be 3 years.
Uh-huh.
As you mentioned, I graduated from Wake Forest in 2017, and then I moved up to Boston, where I began working at Babson the summer of 2018. As I mentioned, in the Graduate Office of Experiential Learning, and I was in that role for 2 years, and then transitioned into graduate admissions, where I will be there a year coming up this summer.
Okay, well, awesome. And I just want to say to everybody that is joining in, please tell all your friends. We're focusing tonight on graduate school. A lot of the students, they follow us for undergraduate, but today it's time for graduate students. And I'm so thrilled, I'm so privileged. I see a lot of students jumping in, and I want to say hola. We have Camden from Argentina, we have Chile, Colombia, Miami, Peru, Nicaragua.
Wow.
I can recognize a lot of students here. I can recognize parents, and we will focus a lot on that. When was Babson founded?
Great question. So Babson was founded in 1919. We actually recently just celebrated our centennial anniversary. So Babson's really been around for quite some time now.
Okay. And now, everybody, when people talk about rankings, and that's a question that I have every day from students, from parents. They say, I want to number one, numero uno. So share your number
Yeah.
one ranking and how old that ranking has been active at Babson College.
Yep. So as you mentioned, Babson has been ranked #1 for entrepreneurship for 27 consecutive years. So quite some time now. And one thing I just want to mention, of course, when people see that ranking, they think entrepreneurship, but they also think, okay, entrepreneurship, does that mean I need to start a venture? It's my place at Babson if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, but at Babson, we think about it more as developing an entrepreneurial mindset. So how do you think and act like an entrepreneur when faced with ambiguity and uncertainty? So, we welcome anyone at Babson, to develop that entrepreneurial mindset, whether they want to return to the corporate world, maybe they want to join their family business, or in fact, they do want to start a venture. You can really go in any direction.
Okay, and Lana, before we jump in, we gotta mention that we have guests from Hong Kong, we have from
Wow.
Brazil, we have from the Czech Republic, we're from Italy, from England. I mean,
Welcome,
students,
everyone.
prospects, alumni, please make sure that you send your country here. We will announce them. You have somebody on a waiting list here. So we're here just to learn about the programs. We're not talking about admissions, whether you are on the waiting list and so forth, but we're just learning about the process. I've been in the US for 30 years. I did my undergraduate, graduate admissions here in the United States, working admissions. Had an awesome MBA as well myself. And I learned actually from a US ambassador when they opened the college fair in Singapore, remember back in the day. And he said, an MBA is a universal language where entrepreneurs, where business people can communicate with each other. And that's what you go for a master's in business administration, and then you specialize in accounting, finance, hospitality management, and so forth. Most recently, you guys opened a campus. You have your Wesley campus, but you also have a Miami campus. And
That's
I'm
correct.
very curious about your Miami campus. We have a lot of parents and prospects from Latin America that perhaps they want to be in Miami and they are not able because of their jobs going to Boston. So let's focus a little bit and then we jump into programs at Wesley.
Yeah, no, great.
What
Go ahead.
programs do you offer here in Miami, please?
Yes, so in Miami, the primary program is our blended learning Miami MBA program. We also offer a certificate in advanced management. As Juan K mentioned earlier, that is a program that I myself did in Massachusetts, but those are the two primary programs in Miami.
Okay, and by the way, un saludo especial para Gustavo from Miami. If you're
Yes.
watching, Gustavo, I want to say hello and molto obrigado. Actually, you already have somebody say, I'm from Colombia, La FESA accepted, Charles from Belgium admitted.
Wow.
I mean, you have a lot of ones. So let's kind of bring a case study here because I think case studies will always help out. And so let's go with a first case study. This is a parent of one of our students. And I told recently we'll be working with family business, and the family business has multiple companies within the family business. So I went back to the US ambassador in Singapore and said, you need to learn the language, and all the brothers and sisters say, you will be leading the organization. So I push this student, the prospect student say, you need to study an MBA. So the person has been out of college for, let's say, 20 years and going into graduate school. The program, the person doesn't have time for the GRE, GMAT because of leading a company with thousands of employees. What could be a recommendation for you, Lana, for that student, that prospect student that wants to apply to one of your programs in Miami, for instance?
Yeah, so I mean, this individual sounds like a pretty experienced individual. So first of all, in terms of our MBA, one of my questions would be, would you like to go full time? Are you able to leave work for either 1 year or 2 years? We have both a 1 year and a 2 year MBA out of our Wellesley campus. So, that would be my first question. And if they are able to, if they want that fully in-person experience, then it would be either the 1 year or the 2 year MBA. But if they want to continue working, and just to mention too, the 1 year and 2 year MBA are both visa eligible programs. And then our blended learning Miami MBA, how that differs is that it's really gauged for our working professionals. So, we have individuals who stay in their home country and they continue working. And then you're online and then you meet in person 3 times per semester on our Miami campus. And so I didn't mention the location of our Miami campus is in the heart of Brickell in the financial district in Miami, Florida. And so that gives you the ability to kind of have that balance, continue working, but also get that in-person experience, which I know is so valuable to so many students who want to pursue their MBA.
Okay. Now, to the contrary of the 20 years of experience of this future prospect that you will be having applying to your institution, a recent graduate from a European university, and I just want to say hi to the people that just joined from Belize. Thank you so much for joining us. The student graduated just recently with 1 year of experience in Barcelona. And what will be the student has the potential to do a full-time MBA, Master's in Business Administration, and so forth. What is your work requirement, for instance, for your programs? And if you can disseminate each program, what's the work experience? If you can help us with that, please.
Yeah, so typically, of course, there are nuances across programs, but typically we're looking for a minimum of 3 years of work experience for our MBA program. We know some individuals are very eager once they graduate and they really want to jump right into it, but we really do value that work experience after you complete your bachelor's degree and then returning to the classroom. Now, on the contrary, we do have 3 specialized master's programs. They're kind of a mouthful, but our Master of Science in Management in Entrepreneurial Leadership, our Master of Science in Finance, and our Master of Science in Business Analytics. So depending on your interests, typically for those programs, they range from 0 to 3 years of work experience. And we also take into consideration internship experience during your bachelor's degree. So I would, encourage the individual, if any of those interest them, to explore those options, and we can speak further about those. And then also, you can always go for a second degree at Babson. So if you really do want the MBA after that, it can be a further discussion at that time for a second degree.
I can't believe I see Isabella Poleo here. She's one of my former students, actually attended Babson, and she just said, hi from Miami, admitted to MSBA. Hey, Isa. Hola. And
hello.
Hello, probably you already know Lana. And I see the address here. People are saying 1200 Brickell
Thank you.
Great restaurants. You are just a couple blocks from the city center. You're a couple blocks from Action. What floor are you guys in Miami, in Brickell?
So I've actually, in full transparency, I've been, since moving down here in the middle of the pandemic, I've only been to the campus one time.
Okay.
So it's the 3rd floor of the campus in Miami.
Okay.
And so it is in one of the office spaces in the BB&T. Thank you, Rise Realty.
Thank you, Rise. Who is Rise?
3rd floor. I'm not sure, but I appreciate that. But yeah, hopefully, as things improve, I'll be back there. But I have been remote for the time being. So I look forward to spending more time down there.
Thank you, Lana. Now, students come from Latin America, from Asia, Europe, Middle East, all over the world, and Isa Poleo just say hello, and she's so excited to go back to Babson. In terms of internships, when you're doing, let's say, a full-time graduate degree or even certificate, what are the internship opportunities that you might have while you're studying your graduate program at Babson or certificate?
Yeah, no, great question. Again, that will vary across our programs in terms of our students typically come over on an F1 visa, and we have our International Student and Scholar Services Office on campus, and they are really the experts in that field that you will work with through that visa process. And then there are certain regulations around work authorization, during the program. And so typically I can use, for example, our 2-year MBA program. Is a great example. If you come to the US on an F1 visa and you're in our 2-year MBA program, after completing 2 semesters in the US with that program, then that summer in between your first academic year and your second academic year, you're eligible to use CPT, which is curricular practical training for anyone who's not aware or hasn't heard of it. And that's the work authorization you're able to use as a student. And then post-graduation, of course, OPT, which I think is a more familiar acronym that individuals have heard of.
Okay, so just want to pause for a second to say hi to Catalina Escobar. She's a parent of one of your graduates, actually undergraduate. He just graduated, Guillo. And actually want to ask you, for the ones that come to the United States on F1, do you have any graduate programs that are STEM related within your program, so they get the 2-year work permit in the US?
Yeah, so that's correct. Our Master of Science in Business Analytics and Master of Science in Finance are both STEM designated programs. We also have 2 concentrations, MBA concentrations. in business analytics and machine learning, those two separate MBA concentrations. So those are all STEM designated.
Okay.
And, for more information about that, like I said, I'm not the expert in, the OPT and the STEM designations, but I would be, happy to connect any individuals interested in learning more to our International Student and Scholar Services Office.
No, thank you so much. And that's a changing world, the optional practical training. I left admissions 10 years ago, and I've been with JCT for Education for 10 years. And just to get all the legislation up to date is a task. That's why you have the designated school officers that they will help you. But I'm so excited here with one of our viewers, Rise Realty. He says hundreds of Babson alums across South Florida, three counties. Yes, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beach County. And why do you think you guys are so popular in Florida?
Well, I did see that he also mentioned a Babson grad. So welcome. Thank you, thank you for joining us. And what I will say is, our Miami campus, having opened a campus in Miami, we do have also a lot of alumni in Latin America. And so I think Miami is a big hub. I think it's only increasing in terms of technology and innovation and the startup environment down there. I will say overall, I think a lot of individuals are now moving to South Florida during this pandemic as well. But I think Miami is an ever-growing city and hub, as I mentioned, for entrepreneurship, innovation, technology. So I think this is just the beginning. Okay.
So Lana, let's go back to our case study number one. The parent that wants to go back to school, graduate school. We were having a good time because I said, okay, I need your transcripts. I'm like, Juanca, where am I going to find my transcripts? So go back, call the university send those transcripts. The transcripts are written in Portuguese. So for students, because this is a serious question, is like the transcripts is in Portuguese. You want those transcripts to be evaluated, correct?
Yes. So at the time of application, we know we need at least a translation if it's not written in English. If it is not on a 4.0 scale, as we have in the U.S., we will still accept those transcripts at the time of application. But once you are admitted, deposited, and enrolled, we will request any official documents. So, whether that be language exams that you've taken, or if you decide to take a GMAT or GRE, those official transcripts, as well as your transcripts from any bachelor's and master's degree programs.
Okay. Sometimes this adds a little cost and burden, when you're going through credential evaluation agencies. So just to go through, you taken from ECE, Joseph Silney, West, also Education USA. Do you take those from Education USA as well? Anyone else that comes to mind?
So I know the most popular is typically West. That we do see, but we do have a list of recommended credential evaluators, and I'm happy to send that to individuals. And of course, if there's an additional evaluator that maybe isn't in that list, certainly we welcome, if you let me know what this new evaluator is, I can certainly run it by, our admissions committee and go from there. But I'm happy to send that recommended list that we have as well.
Lana, for students and prospects that are watching right now, what are the most common requirements for a graduate degree or even for a certificate? If you can run through that list, that will be awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, to start, so as I mentioned, across our programs, I just want to start off by saying there will be different nuances across the programs, but overall, first thing I want to mention is for the programs beginning in the intake for 2021, the GMAT GRE is optional. So we did move test optional this past year.
Thank you.
Yes, it definitely, I'd say it is an obstacle, especially during the pandemic, to be able to get to testing sites. And so what optional means, I hear a lot, you have a waiver, not necessarily a waiver, but it means it gives you that option. If you want to submit your GMAT or GRE, we want you to feel confident in that application you are submitting. So if that means you submit your GRE GMAT, then by all means submit it. If you do not, it will not count against you in any way. Aside from that, if you choose to submit it, we also ask for professional resume. You also require one letter of recommendation. Again, that will vary, whether we prefer professional for our MBAs, but our specialized masters, we can also sometimes see academic as well. There will be an essay, essays, maybe a few short answers. Also, the other thing would be transcripts, as you mentioned previously, for any bachelor's or master's degree programs. And then there's going to be an interview component.
Okay.
And so those are the primary aspects of the application and the requirements.
Lana, for the fall intake, when is your last date to apply? What's your deadline?
That's a great question. I like to speak to what our next deadline is.
Okay.
So I will say for all of our full-time programs, so I didn't necessarily list them all out, but our full-time programs are our 1-year, our 2-year MBAs. Both of those programs are Masters of Science in Business Analytics, Master of Science in Finance, and our Master of Science in Management and Entrepreneurial Leadership. Those programs, our next deadline is going to be April 14th. Okay. And just one thing to note, they all have a fall 2021 start aside from our 1-year MBA, which has a May 2021 start. So that is coming right up. For our part-time programs, the next deadline is April 19th. And for that would be our Blended Learning Miami program, our part-time MBA program, Certificate in Advanced Management, and then a newer program, which is our Master of Science in Management in Advanced Entrepreneurial Leadership. Now that one is a very long title, but that was one of our newer programs, and it's a more advanced program compared to our Master of Science in Management and Entrepreneurial Leadership.
Lana, from your experience in admissions, what is the document that takes the longest to get into your office?
That's a good question. I would say the transcripts. Yes. The transcripts, because sometimes you're waiting on the university, but we do accept unofficial transcripts. So, just to keep that in mind, if you're able to obtain those, and also if you're applying for one of our specialized master's programs and you haven't completed your bachelor's degree yet, please just send us what you have taken, and maybe what you are signed up to take if you're finishing, let's say, this May.
Okay, Lana, let's stop for a second because probably you have seen a lot of interesting resumes. What are the no-nos on a resume, if you might share? A lot of our students, they share their resumes with us or prospects, but I've seen hundreds of resumes. Or can you say one that you like the most, or something that caught your eye that you say, wow, this is an incredible resume?
Yeah, I will say, when you have maybe a statement of purpose at the top, maybe knowing kind of where you want to go or the kind of individual you are, but also, something that we like to see is, especially for our MBA programs, we're mainly looking at postgraduate work experience. Okay. So just something to keep in mind. And, if there's any experience, there's maybe gaps in your experience, addressing that somewhere in your application as well. Is important, just so we know, what was happening during those gaps. We really want to know your background and get to know you more through the application.
Okay, we have a really good question, and for JC Fuentes 47, I want to say thank you. You took my question out of my mouth, and I wanted to ask that question. So JC Fuentes, muchas gracias. Can people with a bachelor degree in history complete an MBA application? Of
course. As long as you have completed a bachelor's degree, we do require that you've completed a bachelor's degree. We welcome all educational backgrounds. We love diversity at Babson, and I would say, it's diversity not only of culture, but diversity of educational work experience. I think you bring such a unique perspective. So certainly you don't need to have an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's degree, let's say in business administration. Now, what I will say is our admissions committee, when reviewing your application, they are going to take into consideration your quantitative aptitude. Yep. So maybe if you didn't complete a bachelor's in business or have any quantitative courses you took, then maybe through your work experience you showcase that, or maybe you decide to take the GMAT or GRE to showcase it in that sense. So like I mentioned before, we just want you to feel confident in that application that you are submitting.
So that's a really good question, JC. Outstanding. Now, my question is like prerequisites, despite it, whether you took the GMAT or GRE or you did take it, would you guys require at least that you take in calculus and statistics or not?
So to submit your application, it's just that you have completed your bachelor's degree, and then the admissions committee is going to take a holistic view of your application. So they're going to be
Okay.
looking at the quantitative aptitude, they're going to be looking at proven academic ability, they're going to be looking at career progression and or what you are hoping to do with your career moving forward. They want
Okay.
to know your story, what your goals are, how the MBA or specialized master's program fits in to those goals and will propel you towards those.
That's really good. And JC, again, thank you so much for asking that question. When I did my MBA, we had students from all different backgrounds, and actually, I saw a lot of biology majors that they take the MBA for a year or 2 years before they're going into medical school because they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to bring their business experience into medical school. Here we have, and if I actually study business, an MBA is good. Is an MBA a good idea? I will let you answer that question.
Yeah, no, I would say, certainly, I think it all depends on what you are trying to achieve, and where you are in your journey, in your professional journey. So certainly we have individuals who have done a bachelor's degree in business, some more recently, some a longer time ago, and they want to return to maybe freshen up those core skills, your finance, your entrepreneurship. But then they also want to tap into, for example, at Babson, the entrepreneurial mindset that is woven into the courses. That is a common thread throughout all of our programs, and really learn from the world-class faculty that we do have. So I think every school is different, and I think there still is a lot to learn and a lot that
Yes.
you can both
Yeah.
contribute to the classroom as well as learn from your peers, in the diverse context that it is.
Yeah, Emma Pin, and as well, if I can contribute, absolutely yes, not a problem at all. I studied advertising, then I got a second bachelor's in marketing, and when I got
Hmm.
into my MBA, it was deeper conversations of case studies and real world, and you have a different type of audience within your class. So absolutely, it totally makes sense, and they're gonna walk you through to the language where you go
Hmm.
into whether you're in the real world or you're going into the real world business, you are fully prepared for the actions that are coming back. And you have
Yeah.
Marle say, "I love Babson."
Yeah. And
Uh,
I will say just, when you mentioned that, it just made me think as well, within our MBA, our full-time MBA program, the 1 year, the 2 year program, you have the ability to concentrate in an area. So say you completed your bachelor's in business administration, a more general degree, you worked for a few years, and then you realize, oh, I actually, for example, marketing, or I really like finance. I didn't take enough courses in finance. I really
mhm.
want to expand my skill set in that area. Well, then maybe you come back for an MBA and you concentrate in finance. So, there's just a lot of options, a lot of opportunity to really customize your MBA experience for our 1 year and our 2 year programs.
We have a parent of one of our students and actually has an MBA and a big social entrepreneur. But think
Hmm.
about all the areas that an MBA can cover. And
Yeah.
we have a big social entrepreneur person here. Now, international students. Let's say the international student, let's go back to case study number one, where the parent didn't go to school, the graduate student didn't go to school here, undergraduate, went to a school in Brazil, but has been in the United States for 20 years. Would
Hmm.
you require English proficiency test, whether it's Duolingo, IELTS, or TOEFL, or not?
Yep. So there are a few ways to receive a language exam waiver. We have all of them outlined on our website, but one of them will be working for 2 consecutive years in the United States. So that individual, would qualify for that. So, certainly if you fall into that category, if the primary language of instruction at your institution, even outside the U.S., was in English, we just need some sort of documentation. But
Okay.
certainly reach out to us and we can walk you through that process.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Now, what programs are coming up right now in Miami, and are you guys fully operating on both campuses, Miami and Wesley?
Yeah, so in terms of events, so I would say, right now the events are virtual. They're still virtual primarily, and but what I will say is great about that is our centers and institutes on our Wellesley campus. Even if you are on our Miami campus, you're still part of the larger Babson community that is so tight knit and global, and so you almost have access to even more events with this virtual environment, and those resources are great, to tap into and to engage with. And in terms of our campus is open, yes, to current students. Right now on our Miami campus, there is that in-person experience. So our students, of course, there are certain sanitation, testing protocols, masking, social distancing in place. But our students are coming to campus for those face-to-face sessions that I mentioned. And for our Wellesley campus, it is similar. Of course, there's going to be capacity restrictions, and in this new normal that we navigate, and it's an ever-evolving situation. But I can say that, proudly, that Babson has maintained that hybrid format, and given those students that want to be in person and feel safe to do so, to come in person and take their classes in that format.
Thank you so much. We have Madero J. It says, "Go Beavers." Hey, Madero J. I have my beaver right here. This t-shirt is 2-3 years old. Thank you, Bobson. I remember when I visit you guys back in the day, you guys gave me this one. So I gotta go back for my new one. Alumni, famous alumni. Can you talk a little bit about your alumni? What they done, where are they, and what, I mean, you are very proud of all the alumni, but let's talk about alumni for a second, please.
Yeah, so we do have over 43,000 alumni worldwide, representation in all our US states, and I believe over 122 different countries around the world. So our alumni are, very tight knit and, like I mentioned, global diverse. And, they're always happy to engage. I mean, I love seeing so many come on, some students that are just admitted, but also our alumni come in and like, "Go Beavers," everyone's very still connected. And, I love when our alumni come back to Babson and engage with our current students. But at the same time, it's also, how can we help our alumni? The community continues past Babson. You're still a member of the community. So, if we can help you in any way as a Babson alum, of course, reach out to us. We're happy to help. And in terms of alumni that maybe you think of or you all have heard of, and I'm sure I will certainly miss some, but one that comes to mind is Jamie Siminoff with the Ring doorbell. I think that's one that comes to mind. Also, another company is Bombas. I know one more recently while I was in Wellesley, Waku, which is this tea company. And so there's certainly a lot of examples. And like I mentioned, we do have a lot of entrepreneurs that come through Babson. And I love hearing about the diverse companies that they create, and also which ones were created while they're at Babson and after. And some even leave Babson with partners for their business. And sometimes not even just in their own program. They meet in one of their electives with an individual in another program, and they realize they share a similar vision for what they want for the future.
Okay, we have a question here. What is the percentage of Latinos for your graduate school? Do you have a?
So I don't have an exact number. I don't know a number off the top of my head, but I will say the individuals that come from Latin America, I will say through word of mouth that Babson, the Babson word travels fast, and we have had quite a few students from Latin America that come to Babson, and now with the Miami campus as well. I think that is a large hub as well. So, we welcome you all there as well, because it is also a visa eligible program.
Lana, I love traveling, and I love when one of the airlines says, "We know that you have choices, and thank you for flying us." So in terms of graduate programs, we know there are hundreds of choices around the world. And we know that you are AACSB accredited, which adds another status to the graduate program. And let's talk about an AACSB accreditation, because probably a lot of graduate applicants won't know what an AACSB accreditation is, but why should they apply to Babson? So 2 questions in one.
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of Babson, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of individuals come across Babson because of the ranking. It's not just the ranking. Like I mentioned, one thing I touched on was the alumni, the tight-knit alumni network. I felt that community at Babson from the moment that I began working there almost 3 years ago as a staff member. I myself returned for my studies through the Certificate in Advanced Management while working there, and now I'm pursuing my part-time MBA. So, I can speak from experience being in the classroom. The class size is another aspect of that in terms of a smaller class size. Typically we're organizing cohorts. So the classes are organized in cohorts. So typically between 30 to 40 individuals in each cohort. And of course, there may be multiple cohorts depending on the program. That does vary, but that smaller class size enables you to build relationships with faculty one-on-one. And these faculty, a lot of them have worked in the industry or in the area that they're teaching. So they bring that real world practical knowledge into the classroom. And I think making the content relatable and relative to today's world, I think is very important. It's not just a business case, it's a current challenge companies are facing, and how do we solve that? One thing I want to highlight as well that I saw firsthand on our Wellesley campus is I love to see that faculty, you really see those relationships building, because you would look down in the cafe and there'd be faculty eating lunch with students, having just a roundtable discussion about a topic that was important. And it's those kinds of examples that shows how dedicated these faculty are to building those relationships. So those are just a few things that I would highlight that separates Babson maybe from other schools. And I certainly encourage you all to apply.
Good. Thank you, Rice Realty, for helping us out. He estimated when he went to Babson in 2004, at least 20 to 30% students from South America. Super fantastic diversity with supportive students, professors, and yes, absolutely. Speaking of food, Lana, how is Woody?
Woody at Dunkin'. So I'm currently located in South Florida, in Boca Raton, so I haven't seen Woody, but Woody is definitely an individual who's very well known across campus. So definitely glad you still remember him, and I'll say hi when I make it back up there.
Who is Woody, by the way?
So Woody works at Dunkin' Donuts on our campus, and he has been there for a really long time. So a lot of individuals know him through the decades that have passed, and depending on when you went, Woody is someone has been there throughout the decades.
Lana, just to recap, there are many questions, and hopefully we went through many of them. But if a student, a prospect students want to set up an appointment, right now you're not taking walk-ins. The campus is pretty much in a strict, maybe semi-lockdown. I was contacting your offices the other day. There are self-guided tours, walking tours, but there is no word yet on when your campus will be fully functioning for visitors.
Not currently. I don't have an update on that. I can really only speak to as as an enrolled student coming to Babson, there will be an option for an in-person experience. Okay. That much I can say. And then in terms of, we do have some virtual tours you can take, also of the Miami campus.
Okay.
And then from there, if you have any questions, you can, or you want to connect with, maybe I mentioned a resource that you're interested in. You certainly can reach out to us, and we're happy to connect you with the appropriate individuals.
Okay, already. So from what have you learned throughout this year, kind of working from home? We all have learned something. Anything that you have learned personal that you want to share? Because it's been a tough year for everyone. So what have you learned, Lana?
Yeah, no, great question. I know this year has posed a lot of challenges for a lot of individuals, but I remain optimistic, and also feel grateful and blessed, one, for just life, but also I think with technology, we were in a good place to do this transition, and also it's incredible the reach that technology can have, being able to interview individuals across the world through the computer, and sometimes the reception can be a little spotty, but for the most part it's good. And also our virtual events. I know I mentioned that before, but as a prospective student, it'd be hard sometimes to come all the way to Massachusetts just to attend an event, for example. But now we've able to widen that reach, and individuals are able to attend from their comfort of their home.
Lana, how long does it take an interview, and do you guys record those interviews?
So as I mentioned, it may differ by the program. We have some programs are live interviews, and of course that would be in person if we were doing interviews in person. But Babson uses a WebEx platform,
Okay.
similar to Zoom, but we use WebEx, Cisco WebEx, and the interviews typically last 30 minutes, and those are conducted live through WebEx. But as I mentioned, for our one-year MBA, our two-year MBA, as well as our blended learning MBA, it is a live interview component versus some of our other programs are a recorded interview in terms of listening to prompts or reading prompts and then responding, and that's how it's recorded. But the live interviews are not recorded.
Okay. Now let's go dollars and cents because we are business. You're a business school. We all need to talk about finances and so forth. So if you're doing, let's say, a certificate or one-year program or a two-year full-time, how much are we talking here?
So this is another one that's difficult to put a number value on it. On our website, it does break it down tuition per credit, and that also may vary. But to give you an idea, for example, our one-year MBA is around $90,000, 90,000 US dollars. Okay. And then one of our specialized masters is around $54,000 in tuition. Of course, if you're an international student, when you're working with our International Student and Scholar Services Office, there may be additional proof of funding maybe you have to provide, but that's a further conversation that you would have with them.
Lana, for graduate students, if they wanna live, can they live on campus, graduate students, or not, or they have to be off campus?
So we do get that question a lot. It's shifted, each year. Typically, our graduate housing has been limited. Of course, this past year posed more difficulties and the need for certain capacity limits and distancing. We weren't able to offer graduate student housing. I believe there was one program this past spring. We were able to offer very limited housing, but at this time, we are not able to offer, to my knowledge, housing for the spring. For next fall, for fall 2021. Of course, like I mentioned, it's an ever-evolving situation. Things can shift, but our graduate students really do like to live off campus. I don't want to speak for everyone, but in terms of, for Wellesley at least, living in one of the suburbs of Boston, you can be in between the Wellesley campus as well as the city of Boston. So you're able to go, into the city and as well as commute out, and then potentially, find roommates as we connect individuals in the cohort.
Yes. Well, Lana, you've been terrific. I know you've been working all day. You must be really tired, but I want to thank you. I want to thank also the IT department, marketing department, for allowing us to connect through your Babson College Instagram account. We love your institution. We have seen many students actually attending, graduating, and you guys have set the mark for wonderful thousands of entrepreneurs around the world. But I cannot let you go with a really cool question. You come from a Greek background, and we were talking about how beautiful your country is. I come from Latin America, from Colombia. Mm-hmm. Now, we live in Boca Raton. Come on. Any favorite restaurants here in Boca Raton? Greek restaurants?
So, as you mentioned, I grew up in South Florida, 18 years, and now returning. I can say my favorite Greek restaurant of all time, at least within the U.S., is Greek Islands Taverna in Fort Lauderdale.
I love that place.
Oh, you've been there? Yeah,
I've been there.
I've been going probably since I was months old. Growing up down here. So that is my all-time favorite. So anyone in the South Florida area, or if you're ever visiting, I definitely recommend
And one in Boston, for those students that might be attending your campus in Boston?
So I only spent 3 years there. I would say there was, I believe it was called Euro City. I can't remember the name. It was more so a quick kind of fast food place. It was in Fenway. And you could get a quick gyro, but just the quality of it was very good, even though it was a smaller restaurant.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And somebody mentions, go Beavers. This was such a delightful conversation. Again, thank you so much. I know a lot of students are looking for graduate opportunities right now. And what a great option. If they need to contact you guys, they can go to the website. Lana, you will be probably put on the spot. You will probably be getting some emails and questions, but thank you so much. Thank you to friends and families from Bobson, parents. I see Rodrigo. his son is attending Babson right now. So thank you, Rodrigo. And remember, everyone, this video will be housed on IGTV, on JCT for Education, Juan Catamayo. We will send a link to Babson College. Our colleagues are actually producing this video as we speak on YouTube. So it will be on the JCT for Education YouTube channel. And this is Juan Catamayo, JCT for Education for you. Lana, thank you so much.
One more thing. Can I mention one more thing?
Please,
I just want to extend. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Juan, for having me join this. Wonderful to be able to speak about Babson and graduate admissions. And one thing I want to mention: anyone that is interested in applying or would like to speak further about Babson and the different programs, certainly reach out to us at GRAD admissions@babson.edu. And one of the members of our admissions team will be able to assist you. And also, as a thank you for attending this event, any of you who have attended and send us an email just letting us know that you were here, we are happy to offer an application fee waiver for all of you.
Great,
yeah.
Thank you.
So just wanted to
much.
leave off with that great news. And certainly we look forward to connecting with all of you. Thank you so much for having me, Juan.
Thank you for your generosity, for your time, and thank you again. And come back soon. This is, like we say in Spanish, mi casa es tu casa. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank
Great.
you so much.
Thank you.
Buenas noches, everyone. Gracias.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
JCT for Education.